Dear viewers, as you saw in the Japanese version for Vanguard, the ban list, no changes. Now keep in mind that the Japanese ban list is ahead of English right now. There was actually a restriction that happened back in spring that has not been incorporated into English yet, which is the Sergon restriction for Luard. It is the Shoujodoji Radline removal for Shiranui. It's the Drag Veda choice restriction for Shiranui as well. So there's actually quite a bit of stuff that's not there yet for the English side of things that everyone's patiently waiting to be implemented, which hopefully will be soon. But today there was also an announcement of no hits. And you might be thinking, DF, why are you even making a video? There's no hits. Like, what is there even to talk about? Well, Bushiroad posted a document, as they always do, explaining why there are no hits and what is on the watch list. And this document has actually been quite the controversial topic on Twitter today in the Japanese community, and also a little bit in the English community too. So I thought I might as well make the video for those of you that are like, why are people, making so much noise? So you can also get informed and also let me know your opinions in the comments below. And of course, outside of let me know what you think in the comments below, check if you're subscribed to the channel, and if you want to support it as well, become a YouTube channel member to get access to a bunch of cool exclusive content on top of that. Without any further ado, let's get into it. Here we have the Bible, as always, the great PDF of the rule update. So the June 2024 regulation update says that for Vanguard Deluxe, we can zoom in a little bit. All right, this is good. This is the analyzing music. We're locking in. So for standard, the Vanguard Championship Deluxe 2024 is where they get their data. So they looked at the decks usage rates, as well as the decks that made it to the top cut, and the amount of variety that there was among them as well. And so they decided that there will be no changes. Henkou wa okonaimasen. But they did say that there are certain decks that they're keeping an eye on. So first things first, Luard. So they said that, basically while there is quite a bit of, of Luard being used, and, there's a fair bit of Luard, like being in the top cut as well. But, I mean, I can even give you the raw translation. It's like, they restricted Sergon, but there is a certain amount of the deck being used and it topping, but it's not like a crazy amount, so they don't really feel the need to restrict anything else in Luard, which makes sense. But they will continue to look at Luard in the future to see if anything changes. So then we have good old Shiranui. So for Shiranui, they basically say that after the last restriction list, which again I just mentioned what happened, it continued to be really, really commonly used in many of the large tournaments. However, they say the rate of it topping, so making top cut, is not outstanding. It's not a fascinating amount. So they'll continue to watch Shiranui, but they will not restrict it. And so this is where things get a little bit spicy. If we take a look at our good friend VG Paradox. VG Paradox provides us with really cool statistics if we go to the Japanese side of things. This is all decks in Vanguard since standard started. Oh no, since 2022. So since 2022, all the decks in Vanguard and their tops. So this is not just the most recent decks, right? We can keep scrolling. It goes down to Undercover, Alden. Look at all these decks that have like one top each. The deck that has the most tops in the game since mid 2022, when VG Paradox started to collect data, is Shiranui. It has 28 first place finishes, 65 top 4 finishes, and 77 top 8s. When you compare it to the next one after that, Youthberg, which was going on a tear throughout Tempest format, got some new life in Full Blast format. It got 10 less wins, right? About the same amount of top 4s, 10 less top 8s. Jet ranks in at similar numbers, and that was also strong for a long time too. Ebisu is a deck that never came out in English, but was, in my opinion, they cannot unrestrict Ebisu because it would still be too powerful even today. Eva, right? She still doesn't even compare to what Shiranui is doing, even in her heyday. Even Gandiva doesn't, Luar doesn't, right? But that's looking at all time, okay? Let's take a look at what, past 3 months, right? Oh, Shiranui, 72 tops. Okay. Let's take a look at past 2 months. Shiranui number 1, 55 tops. Okay, this last month. I mean, right? Just the last 4 weeks of data. Shiranui 42 tops. Really? Not an impressive rate of topping? Are we? Are we defining topping as the same way? Now, there is another angle to this, and there's a video made in the past where I explained what diversity cut is, which is the way that these Japanese tournaments are run. Is that if you go undefeated, you are confirmed to the top cut, but then any team that goes X1 will then not make it into top cut based on their ranking. They will be chosen based on priority on if their decks are clashing with the undefeated teams or not. So what this means in the case of Shiranui is that if a team with a Shiranui in it goes undefeated, that means that any team that went X number of wins, 1 loss, that has a Shiranui in it immediately has a lower chance to make it into top cut. So that also means that they say the amount of topping Shiranuis isn't as high, therefore we're not going to restrict it. And the Japanese community all basically said, that's because you do diversity cut. Of course it's not going to be that much in top cut. Your way of gathering data is flawed to begin with. And this was very huge, because until now I always thought that it's just the English community that criticizes diversity cut. But now the Japanese side is also like, how are you drawing conclusions from diversity cut? If you want to draw these conclusions, it has to be a proper, opponent resistance top cut based purely on standings. But they don't want to do that. Because the thing is, there's also people that like diversity cut that are saying things like, well, diversity cut is cool because we get to see so many teams bring diverse decks just to try to win with them, right? It basically promotes people to use diverse decks. But then they're saying, we don't like that this fun tournament rule is being used to defend something like Shiranui not being restricted. What are you doing, right? Yeah, it's skewed towards a false narrative. We're using some big words out here today, but so that's why a lot of people are pretty happy, pretty unhappy rather, with Shiranui not being restricted. But there's more things on the watch list. So the other thing is the set order from Festival Booster and Lia Lamorta. So this basically allows you to call perfect guards through multiple means like Raziel or Luard from your drop zone and then intercept with them and then reuse them with Lia Lamorta's defensive ability. And people already before you say, you can't use Lia Lamorta and Luard, you can pay the cost, you just don't use the ability. So the cost to reuse 2 perfect guards and put them back into your deck from your bind zone is indeed something you can do. So basically what they say about this is that, I mean, this deck exists and it does go pretty far into time, but it's not used much and it's not topping much, but we will watch. What's interesting here is that they say, we're gonna watch these 2 cards being used, not just in official tournaments, but also outside of official tournaments, which means things like CS's, Ultimate, things like that. Then up next, Varga. Varga Bros. Varga Bros, what did they say about Varga? They said, Varga's usage rate is very high after its release, and also after Rokusei came out. It stayed very high. It kept being high no matter what, the whole time. But they say Varga doesn't top much. So they're gonna keep on looking at Varga, but they're not planning to do anything to it right now. Raziel, the main character? Surely you're not gonna do anything to him. They say Raziel's been used a lot since release, and it does constantly draw into cards with Sergalon. And it can perfect guard with the Festival Booster order as well from Rearguard Circle. So they said we're gonna keep on watching specifically these 2 cards in interaction with Raziel, but they're not planning to restrict anything now as Raziel doesn't really top too much. So they didn't mention, they said the deck is used a lot, but of course it is. The main character. It's like saying Varga is used a lot. Of course it is. It's used by the most popular character in the anime. Like what? The End was used a lot? Of course it was. Although don't forget that sometimes the used a lot term can be bad as well. We've seen fighting games recently, like, nerf characters, not because they're like top 5 strongest, but just because everyone plays them, which I think is a bit controversial. But anyway, finally, their last watch list is Zorga Nidar. So Zorga Nidar has had a high usage rate since release, but they are looking at how cards such as Shadow Cloak and the candy shop order from the hit song by 50 Cent, found in Festival Booster, can be used to use Perfect Guard multiple times. They say that the rate of topping by Zorga isn't that high, so there's no point in restricting it. So Shadow Cloak, watch out, bros. I'm surprised this had nothing about Leonorn. Leonorn's been topping just as much, if not more, than Zorga, which I think is also interesting. And then some people said they didn't write Eva in the watch list. That means Eva's a fake deck. Miltai literally said, Miltai said on Twitter that Eva's a fake deck because they said even though she's winning a lot, she's not like there. She's not real. And I think that just made it obvious that Miltai is an Eva hater. Can't believe it. But anyway, then for V Premium, they basically said tri-regulation doesn't show anything too crazy in terms of which clan is used more than the others, and therefore they're not going to hit anything. And same for Premium. I do want to ask the comments, those of you that play V and Premium, is there anything like worth hitting here right now? Eva's like Chen Pao, not real decks. That's right, Derek Dow. So yeah, Gurgwit needs the hit. All right, let them know. Let English Vanguard Twitter know that. Let them know that Gurgwit's very good. But is it like abusively good, or is it just good? Like, is it just fine, like strong? Is it like Eva, just good? V needs a hit. I'd like to hear what the other regulations have to say. But yeah, that is basically the explanation of the ban list for this time. I think it's quite interesting, especially the Shiranui point and the diversity cut argument is pretty interesting. As always, I do wish that English Vanguard would do these as well, because I think it's very interesting to hear their reasoning. Whether you agree with it or not, it's nice that we get a reasoning. So overall, I would say that the meta in Japan is quite healthy. Like, Shiranui does have a lot more bad matchups right now. Like, Archite's a pretty bad matchup, Shoujoji's a pretty bad matchup. So I think instead of restricting Shiranui, they're just making decks that counter it. And some people did say that they're glad that Shiranui and Luar didn't get hit, because otherwise we go into a going first meta where every deck wants to go first. So they said it's nice for general, like, going first, going second balance that these decks still exist. But I personally feel like Energy has made going second very good, and there's a lot of going second friendly decks right now, like Dayusha, Dolls, like a bunch of other ones that like to like to go second as well, right? So it's also good. I feel like diversity cut makes it look like other decks are more played, but areas without diversity cut suffers more. Yes, that is also true. But anyway, that is all for this video. I hope you enjoyed this look at the restriction list explanation, even though there was none. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and any expectations for the English restriction list, which hopefully will be announced soon. Hopefully Shiranui gets a good tapping, just like he got it in the Japanese format as well. With that, that's gonna be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.